Hello, this is Kathy Salisbury, the director of the Ambler Arboretum of Temple University. And for today's virtual garden walk, we are going to go explore the Woodland Garden. And to get to the Woodland Garden, you go to the Red Barn Gym on campus, and then you turn onto the red gravel path here. And we are going to explore this Woodland Garden, keeping in mind that the goal of this garden now is to encourage people to come in and explore, to flip over logs, to look under the leaves, to see what you can find in the Woodland Garden. It's one of the oldest gardens at the Arboretum, dating back to the mid-1920s. And when it was first built, it was designed as a showcase for spring flowering bulbs, and we'll see some of that today. So as we get to this Y, we can go right and go to the ground cover garden and the formal gardens, the native formal garden and the formal perennial gardens, or we can stay to the left here of this Y and enter the woodland gardens. And one thing you'll notice is that we have some enormous trees in here. It's a pretty great place to come and visit. If you're into tree hugging, we encourage that. And our first stop today is going to be at this shrub. And I wish you all could smell this, but if I were to put together a tour of flowers that you can smell through your masks, flowers that you can still smell with your masks on, fragrances that permeate the mask while wearing it, this shrub would be up there with them. This is Lonicera fragrantissima, the winter honeysuckle. And for those of you who may be familiar with Fruit Loops, the cereal, if you open up a new bag of Fruit Loops, this smell of these flowers smells just like Fruit Loops. It's incredible. It's also described as lemony or citrusy smelling, but definitely almost exactly Fruit Loop scent. So that is filling the area with that delightful fragrance. Whenever I smell that smell, it takes me back to when I went to school at Del Val. That was probably the last place I ate a Fruit Loop. So you can see here, we're walking through the Woodland Garden, and we have this enormous tulip tree here on the left, and some of our flowers, our daffodils are starting to bloom in here. We have some scilla in here. Our snowdrops are just finishing up. We have this beautiful rhododendron mucronulatum blooming here. One of the earliest to bloom. And the birds singing in here. We also have some London planes, Sycamore Sweet Gums. It's a really nice place to come and explore. It's also nice and shady in the summer, so you can cool off. Here we see some more of the bulbs flowering in the garden. For some people, this looks like just some woods that have been left to go and grow up, but it really is a garden, and it was designed as a garden, and it was a planned, designed space, like I said, from the early 1920s. Daffodils are blooming. If you think you might be interested in learning how to draw flowers that you're seeing now, you might want to consider enrolling in our See a Flower, Draw a Flower interactive workshop that we have coming up in April. You can find out more about our programs at arboretum.temple.edu. The newest addition to our woodland garden is a nest. We want to clean up the sticks and have the place looking managed, although we know that sticks make good habitat. So Kat Mahalik and some of our volunteers have created this wonderful nest space in here. Big enough for socially distant couple people or a family from the same household to hang out and enjoy the flowers, or come in when the leaves are on the trees and hang out in the shade. We have our beech trees. We know that for their smooth gray bark. And unfortunately, people do carve their initials in them. I'm sure this wasn't one of our students who did this at some point, but it's really important that you don't do this and you stop other people from doing it, because this can transmit disease to the tree and kill the tree. So we don't want to carve names into it. Another beech tree. Nice view of the white pines, the eastern white pines here. And here's Kat and a volunteer working on sprucing up this entrance garden. So we're heading back towards the meeting house entrance, and one of the things you will see in here, in addition to a lot of spring flowering bulbs, is this yellow flower here. And this is lesser celandine, and it blooms now, and some people love it. They want to know, how do I get to grow this at my house? It's such a great ground cover. But it's actually an invasive plant, and you don't want it because eventually it just takes over everything and turns into a carpet and outcompetes all the things that you would like to grow in your shady, wetter woodland or even your lawn area. Honestly, this is growing everywhere. And the tricky thing with this lesser celandine is that it disappears later in the spring. The leaves disappear, you can't even tell it was ever there. And then it just works to multiply underground and then shows up in even greater numbers later on. It's really hard to control, even chemically, because of its waxy, shiny leaves. They repel chemicals pretty well. So it's a challenge for land managers, and most of us who are managing garden spaces and landscapes in this area are dealing with it in some way. Like China doxa in here, and here's some more of our daffodils flowering. And the back of the nest you can see here. Right now we're walking along Meeting House Road. These trails don't get used a lot in the Arboretum. It's nice to come and visit this area too. Lots more bulbs. Some white pines. This would be a perfect place to come and do forest bathing if you are interested in that and want to experience some nature RX, some health benefits of being out in nature. This area is a great place for doing that. One of my favorite sections here is this row of London plane trees. I just love their olive green bark, smooth and camouflaged, and how they're here in a row, like sentinels in the garden. So it's still early spring here. Hi. How are you? Good. Thanks for being here. Have a good day. These are volunteers here working in the gardens. They can adopt spots or work with Kat or Michelle in their garden areas, or we have opportunities to sit on the Arboretum Advisory Committee, to teach programs and workshops. We've got all kinds of opportunities for volunteering, and we're thrilled with the volunteers that we have working with us right now, and so incredibly grateful. All right, we're back here. I'm just going to end today. These sweet bulbs at the base of the tree. Base of a sycamore. Oops. We're going to end today looking at the yellow flowers of our Cornus moss, Cornelian cherry dogwood. After this finished flowering, it gets these olive-sized, bright red, shiny fruits on it that birds and other wildlife just love to eat. So we hope that you'll come and visit, that you'll explore all the corners of the Arboretum in all the seasons, and hope you enjoyed this tour of the Woodland Garden in early spring. See you in the gardens.